Hey there, y'all. Hey there. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Adrienne Simpson, CEO and founder of the LinkedIn Pros. And y'all, this is the Warm Handshake with Adrienne Simpson. And today, y'all, I am so excited to introduce you to my guest, Katherine Beasley. She's the owner and CEO of the Caregivers Connect. Katherine, welcome to the Warm Handshake.
Thank you very much for having me, Adrian.
Absolutely. So, friend, let's get into it. Listen, y'all might have noticed a trend, right? I introduced you to business owners. You're like, how does she know all these people? I know all of them, at least up to now, right? And I know that each one of them has something special that I'm excited and happy to share with my audience about their company, their business. And Katherine really has found a very specific niche that she's filling, and she's helping the community with her business. Katherine, please tell the folks about your business.
Thank you. So I am the founder of the Caregivers Connect, where we help women who are caregivers, Black women who are caregivers of loved ones with Alzheimer's or dementia, to provide quality care, to do so without feeling overlooked or um, without also feeling like they are overburdened as well. Like burnout is a real factor in our community. So helping them do that.
Absolutely. And so you have a very personal touch related to why you started your business and why you're doing what you're doing. Would you care to share a little bit about that?
Yes, I will. I originally was launching an entirely different business before I became the sole primary caregiver for my mom, who recently passed away due to Alzheimer's and other complications. And as I was caring for her and myself feeling overwhelmed, isolated, overburdened, um, I decided that in order to do this well, I needed to learn more about the disease itself, and so I took certifications to learn more about it, and spoke to lots of different people to really be able to provide better care for my mother. And in the many hospital appointments that we had, I found that there was just something lacking there, especially for me, the piece where I felt that we were encountering healthcare professionals and others who really knew about Alzheimer's. It just depended on which appointment she had, that I would run into people who didn't even know how to care for people with Alzheimer's and that they needed to be treated a little bit differently. And the advocacy part as well, knowing what to say, what we could challenge, questions that we should ask about, things we should push back on. And so having had that experience myself and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I pivoted my business concept to this, the Caregivers Connect, to provide information and services like resources, education to others, because not everyone's going to go and start a certification program just to learn about it, right? But I did. And that's easier for me to share that information than people to have to go out and try to get it themselves.
Friend, you just said so much, and I just want to touch on a few points, if I may. Number
Mhm.
one, you said, I didn't know information. I wanted to find out more about what was impacting my mom. I took a certification course. Number one, let's
Right.
pause right there, right? So I could say two things, right? Number one, um, we as Black women, right, we want to learn all that we can
Right.
sometimes, right? Sometimes we want to do the most and get as much information as we possibly can. So now, right, you're armed with information to be able to share and comment and even ask questions, right, when you
Right.
go to these appointments. Because a lot of times, if we're in medical facilities and spaces, it's white coat syndrome, right? We feel like
Mhm.
the medical professional is the end all be all. And frankly, while they are, educated and professional, they sometimes don't know everything. Is that, you found that to
Right.
be the case?
Absolutely. And um, I have found many things to be the case, but that for
Mhm.
sure. And the fact that as someone who is educated versus someone who's not, I can imagine that someone who's not educated going in and always feeling like the doctor must know, right? Whatever they tell me must be the truth because of what they've done. They're the
Mhm.
doctor, right? And not feeling like they're empowered enough to push back and ask those questions, is something that I came away with, because some of the answers I was getting, it made no sense to me, but I also challenge everything. But but the thing is that knowing that I have the right to challenge certain things, hearing answers that just weren't satisfactory, that left questions even, right? I get half the story, it was helpful to me, very helpful to me, to have learned these things so that I knew that this is what should be happening. These people should be interacting with my mom a little bit differently because of her disease, right? And knowing to ask for the additional services because of that. You don't know that if you don't have that education or
That's right.
understanding of the disease itself.
Well, and I'll say this too, if I may, just as so while I'm not the sole caregiver for my mom, right, my elderly parents, I have a sister, and we kind of tagged it. They've been recent. My mom is sick right now. They've
Right.
been recently ill, and so just to be able to go in and have to support someone who probably feels like, at least in my parents' generation, and I'm sure your mom's too, that the
No.
doctor is right. The doctor
Right.
knows everything. And, I talked to you a little bit about the experience that I had, and you shared some of your experience. And so knowing that our parents, are from a generation where you don't really question authority in that way, you
Mhm.
listen to what they're providing you. And sometimes it's not always right. So, friend, number one, I applaud you for, because you said it like mildly, but you absolutely pivoted your entire business model to lean
Mhm.
more into the support that you knew you needed to provide for your mom. So,
Yeah.
just thank you for that, and then being really present and top of mind to help other people in the ways that you know that they need. So, friend, tell us what your business, what the services you provide for in your business, and how they're helping Black women to really overcome the overwhelm.
Gotcha. So we operate out of one blueprint, and that is our resilient caregiver blueprint, where we're giving caregivers the information that they need to do better, right? It's never going to be easy. And that's the first thing that I want to make sure that I say to people, simply because it's caregiving, and it's caregiving for someone who day by day is forgetting themselves, yet alone you, right? And so it's never going to be easy to provide care to someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. So we're providing the tools to make it easier for them to do so, right? The education that lets you better understand what's happening when there's an episode of agitation or anxiety, and how to address it in a manner that is safe for your loved one and not just for yourself, right? And putting that person first. So to me, the first part is the education piece. The other part that many people overlook as well is the state of mind that you have to be in, your mindset that you want to put yourself in to be a caregiver. Because at this stage, it's not about you anymore. Once you decide to be a caregiver, they tend to come first because they're the ones with the issues, and unable to function at the same level that they were, especially if they were high functioning and really independent. It's a
Mhm.
challenge, and it's going to be challenging. So we provide out of that blueprint that we have 10 pillars of things that we talk about. But the main ones that I impress are the mindset piece, the part of the safety aspect of it, and really preparing to have someone in your home, right? You're basically you're adult proofing your home. I won't say baby proofing, but you're
Mhm.
adult proofing your
Mhm.
home for your loved ones, especially if they wander. So tackling that piece, tackling sustenance, and making sure that they're eating well or that they're remaining hydrated, and what those not doing that can do for someone with Alzheimer's in terms of progressing the disease. So we have a whole system in place that we follow to give information, and self-care key. We tend to put them first and always want to make them comfortable, as we should, but we forget about ourselves, right? We're going to doctor's appointments for them. We're making sure that they're eating well, they're getting some type of activity and exercise, and not taking time for ourselves anymore. So that self-care piece is really major. So those are the 4 components out of the 10 that I really impress upon the people who I'm trying to help. And then the other 6 that really just give you the strategies and the resources and support that you need in order to um, maneuver and be on this journey and do it well.
Okay, my goodness. So the pillars, right, and support and strategy is
Mhm.
it's key in order to help
Yeah.
folks move forward. So we're going to take a quick break, y'all. Listen, we're talking to Katherine Beasley, CEO of the Caregivers Connect, y'all. She has focused her entire business and her business model on helping to support Black women as they navigate the waters of caregiving for their parents with Alzheimer's. Y'all, we're going to be right back in just a few moments after a brief message from our sponsor.
Impact. And she's also a whiz at helping professionals land their dream high-paying jobs. We're here to help you build your professional brand, expand your network, and achieve your wildest career aspirations. Don't settle for just getting by. Give us a shout today, and let's get started on your journey to success.
And y'all, we're back. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. We are talking to Katherine Beasley, CEO of the Caregivers Connect. And I'm your girl, Adrienne Simpson, with the Warm Handshake with Adrienne Simpson. Now, before we went to break, we were talking to Katherine about her business and the services that she provides, again, y'all, for Black women who are overwhelmed and really overworked, dealing and caring for their loved ones who are afflicted with Alzheimer's. So it's a very serious topic, especially in our community. And, having a relative, my grandmother was impacted by Alzheimer's, y'all, just watching her change and deteriorate. Some of the things that Katherine and her company does to help Black women just to continue to move forward, y'all, insanity, right, are amazing. So Katherine, let's talk a little bit more about your services. We talked about the pillar, right, in terms of the support and strategies that you provide, but let's talk about some of those tangible services that you have. I think you're pre-selling some course information, and I want to really get into that journal.
And I thank you very much for the recap of what we were talking about, because it brings me back to 2 points. One is why Black women, right? There are lots of different resources out there and information available for learning about Alzheimer's in general, right? What I didn't find was a lot of information that spoke to our experience as Black women and caregivers of our parents, or, right, we have aunties that we care about and care for sometimes, and others in our sphere of, our family that we would end up providing this care for. And so it was important for me to focus on Black women simply because there wasn't anything that I found that really addressed all of the cultural nuances that go into how we as Black women and Black people in general look at things like Alzheimer's, right? It's called old timers, and they'd say, oh, it's nothing. And right, they did. In the past, at least, it wasn't treated as if it was something that was a real condition, that there were ways to help that person to get through it better, right? There's no return from it. It's just a progressive disease that gets worse. So how do we make their lives easier? So addressing that was really important for me, for us, and wanting to bring more attention to the things that we need in our culture to be able to get the right care for us and for our loved ones. So there's that. And then the other piece was professionals. I added 2 pillars to my framework simply for that purpose. There are professional women who are really in the sandwich generation. They're caring for their children, they're caring for their parents or whomever, elders who have Alzheimer's disease, they're married, right? And so they are stuck in between having to care for everyone but themselves. So that self-care comes back in. So how do I help those women get into caring for themselves, and how to help them through this journey when they have so much that's pulling on them? And the last piece was helping children, right? They're a part of this too. So helping and providing resources for children to be able to learn more about the disease. Why is grandma asking the same questions all the time, right? All of the different behaviors that they'll see and not understand. How do we talk to our children about it? So those are 2 additional pillars that I did add to address that as well. And to your point, we are going to be pre-selling either a concierge service where it's more the education piece and some one-on-one with me, as well as a course to let you go over this information in your own time, a community where you can come together and interact with people like you who are experiencing this, to get support, to vent, but always venting with the mind of getting past it, right? Get it out, but then what do we do next instead of just laying in there? And so we have a lot planned for folks who join the membership that I'll have, as well as at the concierge level. If you need someone available to help you answer questions and navigate different appointments, you can get in touch with me, and will have a template of different questions that you would ask at different appointments, maybe. And if you need to get in touch with me to ask more specific things, then we have an arrangement to be able to do that if planned in advance. So we are launching that later this month, and the membership as well. And so I'm excited about that. And one of the key pieces to all of this is a journal that I have that we are creating that will allow you to keep track of everything, because one of the things that we encounter as Black women specifically when we go to the doctors is that they don't really trust us to know ourselves, right? They don't pay attention to what we're saying about what we're experiencing. They want to tell us everything.
Yeah.
And one of the things that helps you, not only for yourself, but for caring for your loved one in this space, is to have everything jotted down, right? They cannot, or should not, I should say, right, discount the fact that you are coming into the appointment with notes about different behaviors that you're seeing your loved one having experienced, and the progression or regression that they're going through, right? So that you have the proof of it. On this date, X, Y, and Z happened, who your caregivers are, emergency contact information, just one centralized location where this information is available for you to take to the doctors and to be able to answer the questions with authority, because you're not just trying to remember, oh, 3 weeks ago, my mom did X, Y, and Z. You can point back to the exact date that she did those things. And now, right, hopefully your provider is going to pay closer attention to what it is that you're saying and be able to give you the care that your loved one, the care that they need, because you have the proof of the behaviors that you've been seeing, right?
And let me
And
let me
one
pause
last
you.
thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to pause you because you're giving a lot of fantastic information. And I really hope this audience is listening to what you're saying. You're giving a ton of not only nuggets, but tangible information that we need. I'm over here between smiling and crying because
Oh,
not only are you talking about supporting, our loved ones, our parents, our elders, right? And really having presence of mind of keeping a journal, a notebook of information, and why that is so key and so important, because they're going to forget they have Alzheimer's. They don't even remember who they are, right? So it's important for that, but it's also important, friend, to capture that information, because what if you can't go to the appointment, but your cousin or your sister can, right? So there's
exactly.
got to be a record, and not based on someone's mental memory, to be able to
Mhm.
support this journey, right? I was just sitting there thinking about my own journey. I broke my leg in a couple of places 5 years ago. And I remember, from the hospital all the way through the rehab and those follow-up doctor's visits. And if I had the same physician in the follow-up services, it was great. If I had somebody new or someone who was training, I had to re-explain all that over. It was just really a task and a chore, and
Yeah.
very exhausting to have to,
Mhm.
revisit all of this stuff. But to have the journal that you're talking about, I think is amazing and phenomenal, for Alzheimer's patients and their caregivers, but
Mhm.
also even for other opportunities, just
Right.
other medical illnesses. But I just wanted to pause and make sure the audience is keen in on what you're saying. Like this is key. This is
Yeah.
perfect for this journey.
And one of the main factors of and pieces of that journal is the medications. Being able to keep track of all of the different medications that your loved
Yes.
one is on, and not just knowing the name of it, right?
The
Knowing the name of it
dosages.
instead of, oh, it's a pink pill, right? Because
Right.
that's what
Ooh.
happens in the hospitals. Okay. So knowing exactly what they're
Mhm.
on and what the dose is, and the instructions for how they're taken is key, because then that helps them to make the adjustments that need to be made. And it relieves frustration for them too, right? Because they are unfortunately operating under time constraints. So they don't really have as much time, or they're not setting appointments to give you as much time to really
Yeah.
interact, get all of that history, and then proceed with your care. So coming prepared like that is going to be really key to ensuring that your loved one gets the care that they deserve and that they need at the same time. And one last journal that we were talking about ourselves was the memory journal, right? There are times like I learned so much more about my mom when she came to live with me, and she was here 24/7, right? And so you're asking questions and just having discussions. But for ways to keep your loved one engaged, there's a memory book, right? And you can take notes in that book to be able to, one, guide discussions and ask different questions of your loved one, giving them an opportunity to reminisce about things and to really see that you're interacting with them too, because it makes them feel so much better when you are actually paying attention to them and doing things, and showing some interest in them, right? So a memory book that allows you to not only keep them stimulated, but to also learn more about your loved one, to continue to pass that down to your children. Because one of the things that we've lost as a people, I know, I will readily say, like, there are things that I learned about my mother that
Yeah.
I just didn't know and couldn't even tell my children about because I didn't know it. And now that I know, it's like funny, and we talk about all of these different things. So the memory journal is going to be key for that reason too.
I love it. Y'all, we are talking to Katherine Beasley. She's the CEO of the Caregivers Connect. Her business is focused on providing services, resources, information, and strategy for Black women who are caregivers of their family members, their parents, their loved ones, their elders with Alzheimer's, y'all. And it has been my distinct pleasure to have her share with you details about the services that she's providing, y'all, the pre-sale of the courses and information, her concierge service. If you are feeling overwhelmed and don't know information and you have a loved one that you're caring for, Katherine is certainly an amazing resource for you all to connect with. Katherine, please tell the folks how they can find you, where can they interact with you, how can they get on your calendar, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Please let people know.
So you can see us on the website at www.thecaregiversconnect.com. On Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it is I am Katherine Beasley at I am Katherine Beasley. You can follow us there. And where else can you find us? I think that's it. Our Facebook group, I'm sorry, we have a Facebook group. It's bit.ly/the Caregivers Connect.
Yes, yes, yes. I just want to thank you for sharing your time and space with me today. We've been talking about your business as you've evolved and grown it, and I'm just so excited to see it continue to come to fruition, to be able to help more people navigate those waters that you were able to navigate through your research, your certification, and all that, y'all. When we start businesses, typically it's because we have a passion for something. And as you learn more information, you're able to share with your audiences too. So I just thank you, Katherine, for being in this space and for being on the Warm Handshake.
Thank you very much for having me, friend.
Yes, ma'am. Listen, y'all, if this opportunity, if this interview today was beneficial to you, let us know in the comments, right? Wherever you're watching this, tell us that you got something out of it. And if this episode was not for you, but you have a loved one, a friend, a companion, somebody that you know that needs this information and how they can reach Katherine Beasley, please share it with them. Don't keep it to yourself. All right. Again, this has been the Warm Handshake with Adrienne Simpson. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Warm Handshake with Adrienne Simpson. Let's stay connected and continue the conversation. Follow Adrienne on LinkedIn and join our community of like-minded individuals.